Welcome everybody to another Trosky Tuesday. I'm Trent Mongero. We got Nate Trosky back in California. We were just hanging out for a week in Texas. Had a great time down there with those camps. We'll get to that in a minute. We are going to talk tonight about, we're going to do an overview, Nate. We're going to do an overview or / introduction on how to build a smooth infielder. Now, this is a new product that's coming out, and we've spent a lot of time on it. And this PowerPoint should not be confused by anybody as the actual product, even though we're going to fly through some and touch on some of the whys. So I just wanted to have a clarification to our audience for last week, because there was some confusion about the elite infield throwing routine. Same sort of concept. It was an introduction and overview. It was no way, not even close to the product itself, which is on troskyranch.com. So we just wanted to clarify there, because we had a couple people thinking we were giving it away on our Trosky Tuesday, and we were just talking about the whys and sharing the importance of it, not the entire routine and everything that's involved with the routine. But Nate, I want to go through our sponsors real quick. Soldiersports.us. They've been fantastic to us. Give them a check out. QualityAtBats.com. Steve Springer, the mental side of hitting. Jagersports.com. Alan Jager. Fantastic job. We just had him on our XM radio show. So looking forward to seeing how that turned out. I didn't get to hear it live. I didn't get to hear it, but we were at camp. But some announcements. We had an amazing guest last night. I encourage you to check out Mongero Monday. It's still on My Winning Baseball, Coach Mongero Winning Baseball. We had Brian Kowitz. Brian was ACC Player of the Year at Clemson in 1990. Outfielder, started since he was a freshman at Clemson in the outfield. He worked his way through the minor leagues. I was a teammate of his in the Brave system, and he made it all the way to the big leagues, and a very inspirational story. And Nate, I think Brian did an outstanding job, especially, he did a great job the whole way through, but when you get past that high school and he starts talking about his journey through Clemson, it gets riveting. Did a great job. We have an off the charts guest coming up this weekend, like off the charts on our XM radio show, Dayton Moore, the GM of the Kansas City Royals. I am looking forward to that. Of course, we'll be in KC this weekend working our camps. So that's coming up. We got a one-day softball camp on Saturday at the Kansas City Royals Urban Youth Academy complex, which is an amazing outdoor / indoor. The indoor might be the nicest I've ever seen. And then a one-day elite infield camp on Sunday for baseball. So softball elite infield Saturday, baseball elite infield on Sunday. You can check those out at troskyranch.com if you're interested. Numbers are moving up. So it looks like we may be close to a full house for both camps is what we're hoping. Let's see. How about the last 3 weeks, Nate? The last 3 camps this past week? Got a little tongue-tied there. You want to share a little bit about that for a second before we go?
Yeah, first I'd like to thank everybody for being here. And as we travel around the country and we do camps, we get to meet a lot of people that actually tune in, and they're people that we don't know, and we have conversations. We talk about the program. We talk about just kind of their journey as coaches, dads, players, and we're truly honored. I want our audience to really understand that we are honored that you take the time and listen. And Trent and I, ESDDB, we eat, sleep, drink, dream, and breathe baseball, and we truly love what we do, and we love. We do this because we care about you. That's why we do this. And so thank you for coming to camps. I mean, we had almost 300 infielders in I think it was 6 days. And that was very special, and all these kids are there to learn. Parents are there to learn. Coaches are there to learn. and we all learned from each other. We had some amazing experiences with some of the dads and coaches. One in particular, you know, some of the guys were former NFL players. Their sons were out there and talking about their journey. And what's beautiful is the similarities of the mental game, the approach, and the sixth tool. You know, it doesn't vary a lick. Successful businessmen, successful players in the NFL, guys in the NBA, the MLB, successful college players. You talk about ACC players of the year. You know, they leave a trail. They do things a certain way, and they are truly the CEOs. And I talked to one of them this morning. Actually, I talked to two, both former NFL guys and CEOs of the CEOs of the CEOs. And it's a lifestyle. We eat, sleep, drink, dream, breathe baseball, but it's just not baseball. It's the sixth tool. So thank you for being a part of what we do. And we're excited once again about tonight. I mean, Trent's doing this last night. He gets back on the road, gets to school at 6 a.m, and he has a show that night, and then he boom bounces back to school back here. So kids understand that it's never easy, even as a coach, even as a parent. It's a enjoyable grind. That's why we need to choose things that we love to do. So thank you for being here, and we're excited about tonight.
Amen, brother. Very well said. So how to build a smooth infielder, Nate? I guess we just show up during practice time and take a few fungos. That's it, right? End of story. PowerPoint over.
That's it.
Yeah,
We're
a
done.
little more to it than that. Not that it's complicated, but there is a lot to it. And again, this is an overview, so we're going to be flying through it. I do want to say right off the bat that to be a complete and to be a smooth infielder, half of the play, right, Nate? Half of the play is the throw. And we just literally spent hundreds of hours putting together this elite throwing routine that really is a difference maker. It's not just, go play catch. It's called catch play, but there's so many legitimate things we're working on. And that's a part of this package as well, but we don't go into the depth of the throwing program like we do in the throwing program. We're just basically stating, all right, so there's this puzzle, right? It's a canvas, it's a puzzle. And there's all these pieces to building a smooth infielder, and throwing is a big portion of it. So I guess you can almost say, this just hit me, Nate, you could divide the canvas in half, right? So you have all these pieces to the throw, and you got all these pieces to becoming a smooth receiver of the ball. And they start, the colors just start flowing over from one side to the other, right? So it just all comes together in this beautiful picture, but or beautiful photograph, beautiful puzzle.
And on kind of that word picture, I'd like to just kind of add something to that. You talk about you have the catch play, actually catching the ball, fielding the ball, then throwing. And you said you split it in half, and a lot of times our defenders don't understand that. As you prepare to catch the ball, you're actually preparing to throw the ball. So your footwork is aligning you. So really, the throwing phase kind of starts to leak over early, because right before we even catch the ball, our feet are starting to align and move into direction. It's like the wave, it's just moving, and you're starting to move into direction. So you're just redirecting the ball. So it's kind of like a coming over into the catch phase. And a lot of guys catch
bleeding.
There
the
we
colors
go.
Are bleeding over.
Bleeding colors. Yeah, it's beautiful. I like that. That's nice.
Yeah, it is a beautiful word picture, and I would think that it seems like the more we watch, and of course I've been watching high school age players for 29 years, and it seems like the vast majority of the errors, when I think about them, are throwing errors. Like the vast majority, like they might not field it cleanly. If they still have a chance to pick the ball up and throw the guy out, if they can do that efficiently and accurately. And it's, I don't know what the exact portions are, like ratios are, but it just seems to me like guys will get to be pretty good at receiving the baseball. And they struggle with throws.
Right. Well, the college guys, Ed Service, one of our friends has been on our show, Ed Service from Creighton University, 17 years leading Division I baseball in defense. And, he says that, and I don't know if he knows the exact number, but he says collegiate baseball, there's more throwing. When you look at the
Yeah.
big league numbers, it's actually more fielding. So
Yeah,
it's
'cause they're
less throwing.
right.
Yeah. So and when you're talking about that bleeding, that's really a huge component to being a smooth infielder, because that's the transition, right? It's the
Right.
field to throw transition, and your transition will not be effortless, easy, smooth like water unless you actually are preparing as you're fielding with your feet and your body and your actual direction and your route to the ball. So that's a huge piece to being um, a huge component to being a smooth infielder, that transition, finding it before you field the ball.
Right. Right. All right. Well, let's dive in. So we're gonna fly. We're not even gonna hardly touch on the throwing stuff because it is just briefly touched on here. This is what happened last time. It didn't like me for whatever reason to get it started. Um, let's see. Oh, there we
I could
go.
just talk. Are you good?
No, yeah, we're good.
Okay.
So, the secret sauce, smoss. I'm having a hard time today with my language. I'm getting so tired. The secret sauce of smooth infielders. So I got to bring the energy up here. Wake up. Um, have a plan and execute the plan. Let's touch on that a little bit, Nate, because it's not just a random, what am I going to do today? Let's see, just pull some drills out of the sky. Talk a little bit about a plan, a calendar, and how important that is to being a complete infielder.
Well, when you think of a smooth infielder, you think of presentation, you think of the eye test, you think of visually, how do they appear? Because two players could make the same play and they're both out. And you say one is smooth and one isn't, or you can just go different levels, right? We have the 20/80. So you basically can grade or level anything out. And everything in life, from 5-star to 4-star to 3-star hotels to restaurants, there's different levels. So you can be smooth, but what level are you of smooth? And then who are you comparing yourself to? And I think it always goes back to intent, your intentions, your intent, and being intentional. And what we're talking about here is being intentional. We're giving you a process to help you actually develop these qualities of literally being a smooth infielder. Now, we're not saying 70, 80, 50, 60, 70, 80. We're just saying smooth. We're generalizing. We're saying a smooth infielder. And then it's up to you, really, with your natural athleticism as well. And being smooth doesn't necessarily mean you're better. Not necessarily. I mean, I can be very smooth. The other fielder next to me could be, not very smooth at all. Let's say I'm a 70 on a 20/80 and he's a 50, but he has a better fielding percentage. So, I mean, preferably he's a better defender. I'm more attractive to look at. It's kind of like the BP hitter, right? So really function. I want people to understand that, yeah, our intentions are to be smooth, and smooth does transition into actually making the play. But there's players, and you talked about it before, your best infielder in 29 years is not the smoothest infielder. So we want you to understand that this is not the main priority. The main priority is the out. But as you start to compete at high levels and you're finding ways to separate yourself, if you're not smooth, you pretty much you start getting eliminated. So the smoothness is a component of staying in the game and continuing to separate yourself, not only because it does have a benefit, but the benefit can be overrated. I want them to understand it's just not about, hey, we want everybody to look smooth and then that's what matters. No, we want you to be smooth, but we want you to be a playmaker. I think that's very important to understand. And so the point I wanted to make before that is when you think of someone who goes out for dinner and you see, let's just say, two couples, and everybody's looking at this one couple, it's just because they're dressed to the T, right? Everything is just right. Well, they were intentional about that. So what are your intentions as a fielder? Is it just to get 10 out of 10, or what is the quality? What is the presentation? How smooth am I as I'm receiving the ball? So when someone goes out to dinner and you go, that couple looks very, very dapper. Well, it's because they made it a priority. It's actually attention to detail, right? And that's the purpose of what we're talking about. Separators, attention to detail, being intentional. And then the intent is, this is important to me, very important day to day, right? And the intentionality of it is, now I have a process. So each day, right, I have my intentions, I have intent, and I'm intentional. So right now we're giving you guys the process, but it begins with the intent.
I think again, yeah, we're trying to strike a balance here, of smooth and consistency and have them come together. And
Right.
ultimately that's, the best product, especially from a recruiting standpoint. I also think, Nate, this program is about developing athleticism, and athleticism is smooth. When athletes move naturally in an athletic way, they have flow, they have rhythm, they have tempo, they have presentation. So it's not about being cool. Okay. When we say smooth, it ain't like cool, being a cool daddy. Okay. It's just you're being an athlete and you're playing like an
Right.
athlete and you're using your athletic skills to the greatest benefit. Okay. Advantageously as a fielder to help improve your consistency and your presentation.
Right. That's excellent.
Okay. Looked like you
Right.
wanted to say something.
No,
Um,
well, yeah, I was just gonna say that the idea of being smooth, like you said, it's efficiency of movement. So the more
right.
efficient you are, right? And when you're in sequence where there's not like hiccups or seams in your movements, where there's little herks or little jerks or my head pulling away from my arm, just little movements, they're abrupt to the eye. And the efficiency of movement and the momentum and direction and using the energy of the ball and being light on your feet. So all the things we're talking about are going to benefit. But I think it all goes back to efficiency of movement, like you just said. It's efficiency. And that allows me to play the game as the game speeds up with less effort.
No doubt. So, we're not going to go through everything on here. We go through it when we talk about it. We go through 10 tips to being suave. Let's talk a little bit. We will touch on this because this is something we've talked about before. Um, you know, Smooth, talking about not being cool, but basically it just says what it just says. But I want to talk about the numbers behind consistency, Nate. And I'm going to let you talk about that. And you can take as much time as you want because I think it's very important that our audience, whether it be coaches, whether it be players, whether it be parents, truly understand what we mean when we say consistent. What is
Right.
consistent? Like, so we put it in numbers, and you can use a couple examples of the infielders that we often talk about.
Right. So the college infielders in about the 970 range, 970, 980. And that's the same in the big leagues. The average infielder is going to be about 975. And when we think of Hall of Famers like Omar Vizquel, actually Omar's not in the Hall of Fame yet, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer. That's 24 seasons where he was 985. And then when you look at Ozzie Smith, Hall of Famer, his greatest season out of 17 years was 985. So Omar was beyond. He was so superior to everybody because not only did he have range, he made the difficult routine, but he's at 985. He's fielding some years over 990 in the 995 range. So he'd go 450 attempts and make 3 errors. That is special. But when you look at the average for professional infielders, and we like to use the professionals because they're the best, but you can use collegiate players, you could even use varsity players. When you look at the elite infielders, when you look at let's go to the big leaguers. So if we're looking at the big leaguers, they're going to make between 15 and 20 errors a season in that range, 15, 20, 25. And those are Hall of Famers. So if I'm going to get 400 to 500 attempts, the reason why infielders oftentimes lose that fluidity is because they're actually playing with tension. They don't want to make mistakes. And we want our players to have the freedom. We talk about all the time, freedom to make mistakes so that you play focusing on making plays versus I hope this inning I don't make an error. And that's very common. It's like two strikes. What is the most common thought of a two-strike hitter? Is I hope I don't strike out, especially if you struck out earlier in the game. So it's a negative thought. So getting our players to focus on being playmakers by focusing on making plays. And we call that the do, commit to the do. Not the don't, but the do. The don't is I hope I don't. The do is what I'm going to do. And as the mind becomes present, committed on the do, what happens is the body starts to relax. And when tension is released and relaxed, it creates that sequence, right? That freedom. So getting that mind right, eliminating the voice of doubt, the concerns of I'm a freshman or I'm a senior and I don't want this junior to take my job. And there's always a reason to have fear, no matter who you are, where you're at. Trent, if you went through your college career from your freshman to your sophomore, junior to senior, then you go to your pro career, every single year you would have a reason to fear. Either one coach is putting pressure on you, or then you got teammates, or you got a kid who's coming up who he was a first rounder and he might take your job. There's always a reason to be conscious, right? To be thinking and trying hard. Tension consciousness is the reason, effort and consciousness is the reason for tension, which we lose our fluidity. So freeing our mind.
Great stuff. All right. So just drill progression. This is not the meat and potatoes of the program. So, and we talk about this all the time as well. This is not any type of secret, but I think it's missed. I do think, Nate, when people are not intentional with a plan, that this gets lost in the shuffle. The simple to complex, predictable to unpredictable. It's kind of like going to TikTok, Instagram, or Twitter, Facebook, and finding a cool drill. Well, the drill might be unbelievably complex. It might be unpredictable. The two extreme phases of building, drills and skill. And because it looks cool, the player is not ready, not even close for that. So they need to understand whether it's hitting, whether it's fielding, any type of skill development should be on this scale of simple to complex, predictable to unpredictable. And again, I don't mind spending a little time here because, the meat and potatoes of this program, which we're going to skirt through as an introduction, is coming up behind this. So this is like just good information to have for anybody that's trying to develop as a player. Do you have anything you want to say about simple to
Yeah,
complex?
I would like to. So I was just with my nephew, and we were just training right now, and you have the pitcher, where they're both area code players, so they're advanced players. And the only reason why I bring that up is because advanced players don't necessarily train like advanced players, and this is what I mean. They do exactly what you just said. I'm out there with Javen and Rowan just for the last 2 hours, and they're like, hit me some ground balls. Well, we have a process. Like, it's like Tim Corbin at Vanderbilt. They don't hit. They just don't go hit. Nobody hits. They have movement, right? It's all about movement and balance and posture and mindset and approach. So the reps that you take are quality, right? So Javen hasn't done ground balls for 4 months. So, he doesn't probably even remember. He's in he's in throw mode, gaining weight mode, and hit mode, right? So he's like, they're like, hit us some ground balls. Like, no, we go back to our foundation, right? The foundation of building a consistent, smooth infielder. So, and they're elite players. Just the point is they're elite and they forget. So what do you think all the other guys do? And I'm an elite coach. So you got an elite coach, elite trainer, and they know I'm there with them, and they still forgot. It wasn't like, yeah, okay, what does Nate Alvis do usually? No, they're like, dude, they're consumed with the day, with academics, with friends, life, right? So if you don't have structure and you don't have a routine, and you don't make being a smooth, consistent infielder, you will not have the intent to accomplish it.
Right.
So it's very important.
Outstanding. And so true.
It's almost, Trent, they start to build this new normal. The new normal is I don't do that anymore because we're creatures of habit. So they're like, I was like, Rowan, when you go back to college? He goes, in a month. I go, when's the last time you did all your controlling and running game drills that we do? Run on first, second, third, first and second, first and third. We do them all, right? And when's the last time? He said, oh, it's been about 5 months. I said, well, what are you waiting for? I thought I did it 5 months. No, you do it every day. We're talking about elite, right? We're talking about being a professional. We're talking about playing the game uncautious. And his goal, which he forgets his goal, I have to remind him. I said, as a freshman, you need to have the mindset of a senior, at least. You don't think about nothing. You don't have to think when the coach says, hey guys, we're working on controlling running. All the other freshmen are going to be spinning. I go, they're all going to be spinning except you, unless you prepare like them. And that means you don't prepare. So the foundations these are the separators, and people don't really grasp that it's the routines day in and day out that separate you.
Right. And right before you mentioned that, we had some Latin dance music pop up, and we talk about dancing with the ball. It's literally, an artistic dance. It's concentrated movement. From the time the ball's pitched, hit, to when you field it, the ball never stops. We're just transferring energy, and we learn to be light on our feet, quiet heads, control our body. We have tremendous timing, intersecting the ball when we want to intersect the ball, how we want to field it, and we put this music on throughout all of our training, it doesn't have to be Latin dance music, but it has good rhythm. And, some of the best infielders in the world, many of them are Latino based, they're from Latino countries. So um, it's nice. It grows on you and it gets catchy, man. You start moving, and they're going to hear some of it in some of the video that's coming up because it's playing in the background, because we use it. So talk about the dance a little bit, Nate.
I think that people need to understand that I think music has a place, and this is my opinion, so you might not agree, Trent, but I'll just tell you my opinion. The foundation has to be laid before you play music, because
Right.
when you're teaching players, right, when you're doing your predictable reps and the simplistic reps, right, you're building that foundation. You have to communicate. Hey guys, keep your
Yeah.
gloves low, get them out in front, stay in posture, right? Relax the hands, eyes down, glove down. So your teaching there needs to be a place where they actually want to listen. When music's going on, you're competing with music. Good luck. So
Yeah,
so
you're
so
right.
build into it and build up to it. And or you might say the last 10 minutes, we're not going to think about anything. We just did our conscious reps. Now we're going to lead into unconscious reps with music. So our last 6 minutes is purely rhythm and timing, dance.
Yeah, no, that's a great point because really once you're close to mastery of mastering a skill, the music, that's when it really has its greatest impact because the unconscious mind can just kind of flow with the beat and the rhythm and the skill set's already there. So when there's a lot of conscious thought going on, trying to figure things out, when the coach or instructor is teaching the parent, is teaching their son or daughter, you're right. You don't want to be competing with the music. The music can become a distraction. So it does have its place. But it is an amazing piece, once you're ready for it.
Right.
And I do think it helps people, it brings out the athleticism and the rhythm, in the player once they're ready for it.
And I think it's important to understand because even as coaches, it's like no one wants to be a coach because they're not ready. It's like I don't know enough. I don't know enough about kids. I don't know how to discipline. It's like you don't know, and you're never going to be good enough, and you're never going to be the perfect infielder. So it's like there comes a time, even every practice, we have to learn to play unconscious. So even if my backhand isn't great, okay, it's just okay. Hey, the last 5 minutes, hit me ground balls with music so I could just literally be an athlete because that's how I have to play the game, right? I literally, no matter if I have perfect mechanics or not, it doesn't make any difference. You need to play in rhythm because you will be in peak performance. We call it P2. It's peak performance. It's double P, baby. If you want to be at your peak, you have to be in rhythm. So, and you have to be unconscious because the conscious mind and effort is the enemy of athleticism, right? It creates the tension. So regardless, so you have a 10-year-old and he's like struggling and you're going 20 minutes. Well, let's go 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Let's just really just be unconscious and just catch the ball because that's what you got to do in the game, right? That's the only way. So don't wait till they're perfect because they're never going to be, and neither are you, and neither
Yep.
are Trent and myself. It's like, it's just the process we're in. It's imperfect perfection. Turn that music on and teach them how to play unconscious, even when it's not perfect, because what happens is they'll make plays. They'll make plays at their best.
No doubt. So we're going to start moving pretty quick here. We're not going to get into that drills. We'll list them, but we're not going to cover them all. The whys and the hows. We have, of course, the V slot drills, the V slot catch play routine, fielding posture drills, footwork drills, hands drills. So notice there's an isolation on the feet. There's an isolation and a focus on the hands. There's an isolation where we combine the feet and the hands together, where the whole body now is working at an elite level. We have drills that are very purposeful in training actions and movements that would actually be used in the game. We call that transfer. So the drills are practical and real and meaningful, just same as the throwing. Everything we do in the throwing and receiving is real, practical. Okay, it's purposeful. It transfers, and that's what we're doing here. And then, of course, we talk about quality game reps. So I'm going to fly through. There's the V slot. These are the V slot drills. That's the beginning to that. That's all in the throwing program. There's the catch play routine in 2 minutes. So if you get this program, it's going to touch on those because those are its own separate piece, or this product would be like 4 hours long. So I think we can talk a little bit about this. We're not going to show much of the actual drills, but why on hip flexibility, Nate? Why is it so important to be flexible through the hips as a fielder?
I want to go back to what you were saying for first, Trent, just real quick. You were talking about how we're isolating movements. And I want to give the listeners an idea of understanding that becoming elite at something, or just at your best, is it takes isolation. And if you do like a task that covers like a bunch of movements, that's fine. So for example, if I turn double plays, so Trent turns double plays for 3 days, right? He turns 50 double plays, someone's flipping them to him. I do the same thing and I turn 50. Now, what happens is, let's just say we're both 50 out of 50. Okay, so now we're on the diamond and we're like, who's going to get the winning job? Well, I'm going to beat Trent out. And this is the reason why, because I'm doing wall ball at night when he's playing video games. So what happens is my exchange speed and time and consistency actually jumps a number. So he's a 60 on a 2080. I went to a 70. So my hands literally, or they repeat, they're more consistent and they're actually quicker with less effort. See, I don't have to try harder to make them move faster with consistency. So what happens is in the game, we're competing, and and he ends up making 2 errors out of 10, and I don't make any. Well, when the season's over, he ends up with a 970. I'm a 982, and we're both the same talent. And this is the point. You have to separate. So I was with Rowan today with Javen, and Javen, he hasn't been done defense for 4 months. So we're going off the wall because he's got some stuff coming up. So in high school season starting, there's a bunch of stuff coming up. So we're starting to go back to wall ball. And Rowan is a pitcher. So I'm going to ask the audience here, why would wall ball have a significant impact on a pitcher? So, I want you to think about it, but I'm going to throw a couple out there. One would be simply just on pickoffs, my ability just to be quick with my exchange. Wall ball is in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. How about fielding bunts? How about turning two? These are separators for pitchers. It's just not about throwing hard and striking guys out. There's a whole game. There's a full circle. So Rowan's over there, and most guys are, what am I doing? I said, Rowan, you do these for the next, he used to be a shortstop. So he used to do them. So and then him and Javen are competing. But the point is when you start to isolate, when he shows up as a freshman this year and he's playing Stanford, you know what's going to happen? Come back here to him. There's a plus runner. The leadoff guys at first, the 2-hole guys batting, they're both 6'3" to 6'6" runners. And he gets the ball out with effort because he doesn't have to speed up. He doesn't have to think. And he turns the double play, and he's a freshman. He becomes freshman All-American. And he's the Saturday night starter because of the separator. So I want people to understand there's so much on the outside that Trent called it transfers into the game and making it fun. And so the stuff that we're doing here transfers. We take segments of the craft and we put it together. Now he's talking about hip flexibility. I don't know if you want to comment. If not, I'll mention about the hip flexibility.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so the hip flexibility, look at how low this player is. He is sunk. He's sunk into his hips. His butt is parallel. His back is parallel. His butt is actually up. If his butt went down, his chest comes up, right? And his weight goes between his feet, which creates a stiff move. So this flexibility allows him to play. GGBL is don't get beat low. GGBL, don't get beat low. Now, when infielders get beat, typically they get beat low. And one of the great separators, just as a scout, it's the same if Trent's watching the freshman, who do I want to put on the varsity team? Well, he's looking for guys that move with ease. We call them elite movers. And you don't necessarily have to be strong by any means. You need to be free and easy. Light, loose, free, easy, low to the ground. That allows me to play low to the ground with little effort. Now that allows me to get my glove down on the ground out in front and have tremendous actions working from the ground up. But if it's tense, meaning it's tension, it's effort to get low, what happens is I don't want to get my glove down because it's effort. Nobody likes to work hard. Nobody. It's just human nature. I like to sit on the couch and relax. While the other guy's doing pull-ups in the living room, you're going, oh, that doesn't look very fun. And you sit there and watch TV and eat ice cream. Well, that's human nature. Well, for an infielder, if it's effort to get low to the ground, they don't get low to the ground very often unless they really try. Well, that means they will get beat low. So the hip flexibility is huge. It allows you to make plays with range, so you don't have to hesitate and slow down. So the hip flexibility, Trent, I would say is one of the top 3 separators, and it's immediate, guys. It is immediate. Visually, it's immediate. One play, you can get written off by any pro scout or college coach or elite high school. It's like, boom, you need to stay on the freshman team.
Yeah, or go to the outfield.
There we
So
go.
we have, we go through a deep hip stretching routine. We show that in the video, show different exercises. We go through a hip hinge where basically you're focusing completely on the hips and getting that flat back. And then we have some movement off of that. And then we do posture holds. So we're not going to be able to go through that video, but if you have this product, you're going to see those actions and you're going to be able to replicate them and put them into your routine. So we're going to move through that. So now we're going through footwork isolation, Nate. And most people that are infield guys, I think would say, yeah, we're going to work on feet because, most everybody that talks infield play understands the importance of having good feet. Is it 100% necessary? It helps for sure if you have, great hands, great feet. Of course, you have both. Now you're becoming really elite. Now to play in the middle, probably going to be very helpful to have great feet. So we implement a ladder routine, but some of the keys and the whys being relaxed. So sometimes we do the ladders for speed. Sometimes we do them for rhythm to the music. Okay. We're usually playing the Latin music. Nate, sometimes, almost every time what we do forwards, we do backwards. Okay. So we're literally teaching ourselves to move on all different planes, forwards, backwards, through space, comfort, rhythm, timing, relaxed jaws, relaxed shoulders, just free and easy. And, you pointed out last year, a lot of times when you're with somebody and I'm with my players all the time, things can kind of fly under your radar, right? It's like, does our hair grow? Yes. Do you see it grow? No. But if I see a guy, today and I don't see him for 3 months and he doesn't cut his hair, I can see the difference, so that gradual stuff that sometimes flies under the radar, you found it, you said some of those guys are a little too tense in their jaw and their shoulders. And we've made an emphasis to clean that up, and they certainly have. Okay. The dot drills, just another example of footwork variations. You can do lines. And what's important is you have to learn to isolate and train the feet and, train the mind, the nervous system to work in such a way that your feet, you have unbelievable micro movements, we call them. We'll talk more about that when we get to the jump rope stuff. But footwork drills, of course, all play a role in micro movements, which are explosive little movements, which help me, make plays, help me get better hops, help me get into a throwing position quicker, help me be lighter where I have great head control. So the footwork isolation stuff, you want to talk a little bit about it? We won't show it specifically, but we're going through the whys. So
do you have jump rope in there as well?
Mm-hmm.
That's in there
Upper
too.
body and lower body tied together. Yes.
Super.
Yep.
Yeah, I just, all those drills, they you have no choice but to be on the balls of your feet. And so it promotes and it teaches you to fire the calf, which the calf is the quick muscle. It's the muscle that actually, ignites your quickness. It's not your quads, it's your calf. It's the quick muscle. So when you're building the calf muscle, you literally can be quick and not be fast. So I could be a 7.5 runner and have the best quickness in the infield. And so quickness and balance and efficiency around bases and movement and, that quickness that component to the defensive tool, the quickness side of it is actually developed when you actually isolate the calf muscle. And we see it so often. You see fast runners that necessarily aren't quick. And then you also see guys that are slow runners that are very quick, and very seldom do you find a guy with both. And if you're both, you're typically a first rounder. You're a guy that, has the ability, athleticism that's through the roof, but very seldom, you see a 6'5" runner that's as quick as is a 6'5" run tool, so that combo is beautiful. But understand, guys, you don't have to be fast to be quick. And the quickness tool can be developed much easier than the run tool. And that's the tool really that we're using on defense.
Yeah. And one thing that bothered me more than anything as an infielder was infielders with heavy feet, Nate. Like, guys that took ground balls in between innings, in a game, or they get a couple of ground balls that inning and they literally tear the clay apart because their feet are so heavy. The best guys that I've been with in the infield are so light, they literally, you hardly even know they were out there. You put them on a dragged clay surface that's somewhat firm with a little light top to it, a perfectly groomed infield, and you would hardly know they were there. And the other guys are so, they're just tough on the ground. They beat it up, and it just looks like a herd of buffalo when you get out there. They were just taking ground balls. So being light, we're talking about footwork isolation. So we're going to get into a combination, here in a minute, where we're isolating footwork and hands together in one. Go ahead, Nate.
Just to kind of just briefly on talking about the presentation, anytime we're in a showcase world now, you get your 4 ground balls and that's all you get. And, really we only need to see one to really see if we want to watch the second one. The first one's going to tell us if we want to watch the second. If you watch college coaches, so if you're at the area code tryout and there's 200 college coaches and pro scouts sitting there, they'll watch the first ground ball. If you don't have good feet and you have a stiff lower half, my hip flexibility, hip flexors, hips growing, it's effort to get into my legs, you pretty much don't even get seen for the second one. And so the kid and the dad's like, hey, my son made all 4 plays, but nobody cares, because it begins with presentation. My feet, do I have good feet, and do I have flexibility? Can I play low to the ground, light, loose, free, and easy? And are my feet light? Right? So that's where it begins. And what happens is we don't understand that. We think it begins with taking ground balls. It's like at our camps, taking ground balls, what's that? It's like, dude, we are building the foundation, but we're building an elite foundation, so that when you take your ground balls, you only need to be seen 3 times, 3 ground balls. And it's like, it happened with Javen. He didn't even get 1 ground ball. He got 3 ground balls between the inning, and he gets #1 team in the country. It was presentation. It was setting up on each. It was the light feet. It was the flexibilities that went down. It's everything that we're talking about. Guys, anybody can do it. Not necessarily, not necessarily be a Division I infielder, but the point is anybody can work on separating themselves with the flexibility and the light feet and the efficient, quick feet. And that's the foundation we're building.
Yep. So now we're going into hand isolation drills. We got wall ball routines, we got juggling routines, everything is routines, right? It's routines. So, certain days of the week, we're focusing on hands, certain days of the week, feet, certain days of the week, hands and feet, certain days of the week, drills, certain days of the week, throwing routine, and that's just the defensive side, right? So, arm care, all of it. So,
hey, Trent, so yeah, we were doing the wall ball today, and Javen said he saw A-Rod on Twitter,
right,
doing some wall ball, and he's like, it's funny because he's trying to do it, and I'm sure he never did it.
Right.
Okay. So, but he knows it's important now. He grew up in New York City, so maybe he did do it. I'm not sure, but the point is that he says if you want to have 80 hands, you need to do your wall work, right? And he's just kind of just trying to get through it. Okay. Point is that now you have the big leaguers literally following what we're doing. because we built this foundation of the importance of the wall. I mean, no one's made a higher priority than we have. The wall is the wall is king. I mean, the
Right.
wall is just not a nice drill. It is king.
It's your best friend, Nate. The wall is your best friend.
Right,
You don't
baby.
need anybody to hit you ground balls. You don't need a partner. You don't need your dad or your mom to go throw you, feed you in drills. You literally can create every scenario off a wall. So I'll let the first wall ball drill, just the very first of all of them, show, so they can get a feel. Is this the one A-Rod was doing? Is that the one? There's
No,
more behind it.
yeah, he was
Uh,
doing palms up more like he was fielding, but no, he wasn't rolling with 50 in 20 seconds.
Okay. So we go through the juggling routine. That's, the very first one. You heard the Latin music playing in the background. These are literally my guys, what we do. There's the ladders painted on the floor. There's 4 sets, for the footwork stuff. And you'll see them again here in a minute when we go through. But, we're not joining a circus. And if anybody really thinks about juggling, okay, if you look up Derek Dietrich juggling on YouTube, okay, he will give you a great example, and he discusses, just like we do, the importance of juggling and creating hand-eye coordination, rhythm, tempo, okay, confidence, because you're tackling these tasks, and everybody loves to juggle. And really your field of vision is improved tremendously, which goes back to the eye hand, because you learn to train the eyes to focus relaxed and not have this try to track each ball with the eyes. You create this big field of vision and then you move. Okay, where'd you go, Nate? Looks like it's still on you for some reason. I don't know. Hopefully they can hear me. So hope he didn't have an emergency. Not sure where he went. All right, so we get in next to hands and feet combination drills. So now we've trained the feet, we've trained the hands. Okay, we've isolated them. We've gone simple to complex. You have to build these skills. So my team motto is brick by brick, and literally that's how we build skill, confidence, winning tradition, culture. It's done in little segments, and you introduce things in pieces and you work towards mastery. Like Nate said earlier, you don't have to have 100% mastery in order to move on. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see me or if you see Nate's, because it looks like his box is highlighted for some reason. I'm not sure, but you can hear me. So we're going to give you an example of a, jump rope routine. Well, jumping rope works on the hinges. We have it in our Gold Glove Infield membership. So you work on the 3 hinges. You have the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder. If you're jumping rope correctly, you're using your wrist, primarily. Really, you're quiet with your head. You can learn to jump forwards. Everything you do forwards, you have to learn to do backwards. You should be able to do forwards, backwards, eventually with your eyes closed. You can do it for speed, do it to the beat of the music. I mean, it's amazing what you can do to create athleticism. And then we tie in the ladders and the juggling. So they become masters of the ladders, okay, forwards and backwards. And then they literally become master jugglers. And at that point, you're ready to combine them. So you'll see a little bit. Nate, do you want to talk about any of that before we move on?
We're good.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I'll say one thing. So there's a movie called The
Hang
Final
on a second.
Season.
Hang on. Going through. All right, go ahead. They couldn't hear you with the music playing.
Okay, there's a movie everybody should watch, baseball lovers. It's a great family movie, one of the best. The guy who produced Sandlot, he produced the movie called The Final Season. And the Final Season's from, it's about a high school in Norway, Iowa. Norway, Iowa is where my family's from. And that's where my grandfather, the major leaguer, and my uncle, the major leaguer, and my cousin, the major leaguer, they all grew up in that town. And that's where Perfect Game actually came from, because the Kims were neighbors of the Troskys and the Boddickers. So it's the Kims, Trosky, Boddickers. Well, there's 3 houses like right down the street. They're all big leaguers. And in this town, they have more major leaguers per capita than any town in the world. More than Santo Domingo, because there's only 250 people, 300 people in the town. They've had like 25 minor leaguers and like 7 big leaguers. I mean, it's unreal. And they're like, a lot of them are my cousins and uncles and grandpas, and it's really cool. And the movie is about why they won. How do you win 20 state? Trent, you won 1. They won 20. 20. I mean, 1. Come on, my hat's off to you. Most people don't even get close. You won 1, hats off to you. They won 20. And so I flew back to Iowa to meet. The movie's incredible. It's called The Final Season. It was when the school closed because they didn't have enough they didn't have enough kids in the school. They had to close the school. And they're winning in the last season. They win their 20th state title. So I flew to Iowa and I wanted to spend some time with the coach, Coach Von Scoy, and he told me, and I said, what was the key? How do you win 20 state titles with, like, you don't even have enough players to fill a varsity team? He says, let me tell you something. It's about emulation, visually watching. He said the little kids would come down since they were like 4 and they'd watch the big kids play. But the older kids would play in the streets. They'd play wall ball. They'd play stick ball. They'd play wiffle ball. They'd play at the field. They'd play, pickup baseball. He said emulation. The second one was hand-eye coordination. He said hand-eye coordination is the separator. And he told me this 15 years ago, and I never forgot it. And that's why the wall ball became so important. Because then I started hearing in Latin countries, I didn't see it yet, but I heard that they were using the wall. So I started coming up with these drills. And the point is the hand-eye coordination is one of the greatest separators in the game of baseball. You don't develop it by just playing catch. You hit little things, right? You hit caps and rocks. And if you do it as a kid, since the age of 6, 7, 8, 9, that's like 10,000 hours. And you got your 10,000 hours in by the time you're 16. Find ways to develop, and it's having fun. You are the video game. Get the balls out and juggle. Trent, just 2 days ago in Texas, that one boy, he's running around. He goes to every camp, and during lunchtime, he's just juggling. He's like the master. Then he goes out to get a double play, and he bobbles the ball. He catches it in midair, and he throws the guy out. How do you do that? Well, hand-eye coordination.
Amen. First of all, I've seen the movie twice that you're talking about.
Really?
It's fantastic when your grandfather hits the ball and it lands on the train and ends up a couple, 100 miles away or whatever.
400 miles.
How many?
They said it's the longest home run in the history of baseball because he hit it over the highway, landed on the train. The train went to Chicago and it landed 400 miles away. So
I was going to say 300 miles, but I didn't want to over exaggerate, but I would have been under exaggerating. 400 miles. And then, yeah, we've won 1 and we've played for 1 and lost. So, been in 2 state championships, and 20 is like unheard of. You know what I mean? Like, I don't say that braggingly. There's coaches that have coached him way more, and it took years to get there. And it's not all about the state titles. That's not what we're talking about, but to have the players and develop the players. If you're not recruiting, and in that little town of Iowa, and when I was in North Hall, we were not getting in players, moving in players. We were developing our players. And, where I'm at right now, that's the goal. We're trying to develop athleticism every single day, because athleticism, rhythm, tempo, confidence. And then, of course, we're actually doing fielding stuff that's coming up, fielding drills, wall drills, all, more wall ball type drills, not just hand, isolation type wall ball drills. We talked about the puzzle, right? We talked about the puzzle. So these are the pieces. So let's move forward. These are some of the things. We're not going to be able to even come close to going through them all. Wall ball game reps. We show all this stuff. Okay. This is all demonstrated, talked about, the whys, the hows, so that you're doing things correctly. Because you could literally read this and go, oh, I know all this stuff. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. But wall ball game reps, tennis racket, bare hand fielding, competing against the clock and competing against teammates, 3-way soft hands drill, frisbee routines, 2-ball shuffle drill, lateral quickness, 2-ball short hop to power drill, and the big 5 infield drills, which I literally did a presentation at the ABC on the big stage, Nate, about the big 5 infield drills, and they're also in this presentation. Anything you want to say? Because we're not going to show them all these. I mean, we'd be giving away, a big piece of the puzzle. So,
yeah, I'd like to say that what makes this magic is actually having a plan. That's when plans come alive. And maybe let's just say none of those drills are new, which they are, because I know they are. But
right.
Let's just say none of them are new. You go, I know that one. I saw that one. I did that one a year ago. That doesn't matter. It's having a plan. It's the plan. That's the only way anything gets executed with consistency. It's today plus today plus today. You add up all your todays, but how good was your today? That's what equals your tomorrow, right? So it's the process. It's the process of having a plan and your ability to repeat the plan. That's what separates, because Trent, Jager Allen came out with the year-round throwing program. I mean, no one in the history of baseball has ever done that.
Right.
It's the genius of coming up with a plan, because everybody
Right.
kind of knows a little bit and they piece it and they forget, and it's like, that's the brilliance. The brilliance is having a routine and your ability to have the self-discipline to execute it on a regular basis.
Yeah. So keeping the main thing, right? Like not just going off on these tangents because drills look cool that you saw on Twitter, like
Right.
we talked about earlier. Now, this
Right.
product, this whole product from beginning to end with all the PDFs that go with it, the video segments that go with it, the actual presentation where Nate, it's very similar to this, where Nate and I are literally talking over the entire thing from start to finish, as well as all the other things I just talked about, has not been released yet, Nate. I mean, we know that it's troskyranch.com, but it's going to be coming out. It'll be a part of the Gold Glove Infield membership, or you can buy it as a standalone, as with all the things that we have. So I'm just going to kind of skirt through this stuff, not really spending any time whatsoever on anyone in particular, which is going to take us. I'll stop at the big 5 before we do the big 5 to see if you want to talk about anything that jumped at you while we were going. Okay, wall ball game reps, tennis ball, competing against the clock and teammates, 3-way soft hands drill, frisbee drill routine, 2-ball shuffle drill, 2-ball short hop to power. Now we're at the big 5. Anything you want to talk about at all? I mean, we kind of hit it, right? So the big 5, as a coach, we have to make best use of our time in practice. And typically with my practices, you don't have to do it this way. We have what's called specialty work by position. So all the grades, 9 through 12, all the outfielders are going to be with our, 2 outfield coaches or 1 outfield coach, depending on how many coaches you have. Okay. The infielders are going to be with me. Catchers are going to be with the guy we have assigned to catching. And the POs are going to be with the pitchers. So, we're going to cover these drills. The outfielders are doing their big 5. Infielders are doing their big 5. Catchers are doing their big 5. And the pitchers could be doing all sorts of different things. Pickoffs, pens, working on spin and ball, whatever they want to do. They have all sorts of things. Covering first, fielding bunts. We have all sorts of things that they can do. So these are practical, real. Now, as you watch this video, I just want to clarify because some of the video is old. So my son Tabor is demonstrating a lot of these drills. And, when he was a freshman in college, Nate, at the D1 level, he was 141 pounds. And, you're going to see him initially in his very first drill, and he looks like he's in the 9th grade, and then some of the other drills are more recent where, he's a few years older and put on a lot more weight, but it's the same guy. So we talk about the big 5, why it's important. That's literally him when he was a freshman in college in the black. So we're going through the different drills. So the other of the big 5, these were literally the videos that were used in my presentation at the ABCA. Why didn't I change them? Because there was no need to change them. The big five is the big five. So, you know, we go through the drills, zones, choose your hop, fly ball drill. How many people work on fly balls? I mean, this whole drill within itself to me is gold because we lost a game, a huge game, when I was still coaching in North Carolina against Pinecrest High School. Seth Manis, who pitched for the St. Louis Cardinals in middle relief, was their pitcher, and he was like money, as you might imagine. He went to East Carolina University and dominated. Okay, played for the Cardinals, and he was a tremendous middle relief guy. Well, he's pitching. We got a chance to upset them to win the game, and they hit a little floater off the hand. Should have been the third out of the game. We're the visiting team at their place. Wind was blowing, breeze was blowing a little bit, Nate. And I see my second baseman. And, you know, when you watch enough baseball games, instinctually you start going, oh, I'm not sure he's going to catch that. Like you can kind of see it, the timing of the ball and the player. And he's just kind of lollygagging over there, hits off his glove, tie and run scores, win and run scores. We lose the game. Should have been the third out of the game. And I beat myself up over that. I was like, what are we going to do to work on these soft fly balls out in the triangles? Because we never get to work on them. And I'm pretty good with a fungo, but you know, you're only going to catch so many perfect. And I was like, what are we going to do? Well, we started implementing, and maybe a lot of other people have done this, but you know, that's when I said, this has to be in. And we literally go predictable. We start glove side, then we go, anyways, we've implemented this drill. And that's the fifth one of the big five. So, of course, then you got to get into your challenging game like repetitions. It's not like you don't ever get ground balls. You know what I mean? So there is an element of ground balls. And we talk about, you know, the ground balls, how you can get them, the different ways you can get them, the importance of them. You know, I want you to talk, Nate, a little bit about ABT, always be throwing. Talk a little bit about why it's so important to throw and some of the ways that we can modify it where we, you know, can take it easy on our arm if we have to.
I kind of apply it to the law of unintended consequences. Whatever you leave unintended goes unintended, and whatever goes unintended will diminish and decline. So whatever you don't work on is unintended. It means you don't intend to it, right? Attending to something, mowing your grass, brushing your teeth, cutting your hair, you know, whatever you're doing your laundry, whatever you attend to gets attended to. And that's the key here. And the throwing piece is the piece that's always left unintended. And if we do throw, what kind of intent do we have when we throw? That's why the stopwatch has so much value. And what we've been doing, and it is a piece that I didn't bring up from Coach Von Skoy from the final season from Norway, Iowa, was the stopwatch was his third. He had hand-eye coordination, emulation, and the stopwatch. And so we do the stopwatch for everything. And even today, when we did wall ball drills, not throwing ones, but actually ground ball ones on knees, how many can you do in 10 seconds? And it's not about being in a hurry. It's about putting pressure on yourself so that you can slow down, be smooth when you actually have a limited amount of time and you're trying to beat a time that you had before. So I got 12 in the last 10 seconds. I'm going to try for 14. Well, how can I remain smooth, right? Light, loose, free, and easy while I'm trying to actually move faster. So it's teaching so many important pieces. And that's what throwing is. Throwing is that piece, but just throwing doesn't count. Because if I just throw, am I literally, do I have a target? Then how big is my target? And I was talking to a guy today, he kicked in the NFL for 10 years. And he's the greatest kicker in the world. And he goes, Nate, he was at our camp, Trent, by the way. And I'll tell you who he is later. He was about 5'6". And he called me today. We talked for about an hour, and he says, I was in the NFL for 10 years. I said, really? He said, yeah. And he goes, this is what I used to do. He goes, the goalpost is 18 feet. My goalpost was 8. He goes, my goalposts were 8 feet. I'm kicking 50-yarders at 8 feet. Gets to the game's easy. It's the whole concept of everything we talk about. It's aim small, miss small, and then it's the same concept of time, right? Time, speed me up, and I'm going to slow down, right? And then I learn to aim small, and then the big becomes easy.
Right.
it's brilliant, but how many people do it? So it's the same concept of throwing. The throwing piece needs to be obviously not every drill you can throw in. But the point is if you throw with a target, the target, like today, Javen was turning double plays from second and short, throwing the ball 10 feet. Literally, that's it. Because he played long, right? He did all the other throwing, but the concept is out, 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 posture balance. We talked earlier about how the paint, right, the paint runs into the blank side because as you're turning your double play, you're literally getting in position to throw. So it's that piece that we leave. Just setting up to turn double plays and take it out is there's different balance required to actually deliver the ball, right? And then just getting it out. And then even at 10 feet, I could say, okay, I'm going to time you from glove to net. So he just feels a little sense of pressure. So always throwing with intent, right? And then when you start adding the clock, and we talk about fungal man fungals, and most, colleges, pros, they do that. They have the watch, but we're talking about adding the watch to everything. Well, excuse me, not everything, but to a point when you start getting to the second level of the drill, now we're going to finish with the clock. Always be throwing, add the intent, aim small, miss small, add the clock.
Yeah, so to me, it's like a video game because players can relate to that. You have levels, right? You have levels. You learn the first level, you conquer the first level, you get to the second level, and everything gets tougher. But if you stay calm in your mind, usually when you play a video game, I remember Galaga or whatever it was called when I was a kid, first time I ever played it, every time you got to a new level, your mind sped up because these things were coming in all different directions and dropping bombs on you. And so once you learn to stay calm, you just navigate.
Pac-Man, the
You're
ghosts are
Pac-Man.
coming, right? Second level, you're trying to always get to that fifth level, whatever, right? The ghosts
Right.
are moving.
Yeah.
You move slow and easy when it's speeding up. And we literally have to develop those qualities so that we can play
Right.
the game unconsciously and be like really good versus
Yep.
the conscious mind comes. Stay away, conscious mind.
Yeah, stay away. Keep it out of it. Get it, conquer it, and get so good at what you're doing, it becomes unconscious. It's instinct mode. Instinct mode.
Trent, what time you got, brother? How are we looking?
Time to eat.
I got Javen at the field waiting for me in the dark.
Yeah, it's time to eat. I mean, it's 9:07. We've just concluded this presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
So it is just an introduction. We did not go into any depth or show you any video really of any consequence. So when the product comes out, give it a look, TroskyRanch.com. Thank you for another fantastic Trosky Tuesday. We will catch you. Remember, we have Dayton Moore, GM of the Kansas City Royals, on our XM radio show this weekend. And then we will be in Kansas City, and we have, I think, one more camp you can sign up before high school season kicks in, TroskyRanch.com. See everybody next week.